It's so annoying that Republicans can nonstop attack blue states, blue cities, the entire country, entire races of people. But when you say, like, hey, Texas voted for Trump, Trump defunded the NOAA, now you can't predict floods. Consequence? And people are like, no, you can't point that out. No, come on. There are more Democrats in Texas than in New York. And you know what? Those Democrats in Texas should be saying, fuck yeah, my neighbors. Those people. Yeah, they did this. They brought ruin to us. Why wouldn't you? Like, why, I don't. I guess I just don't understand the like performative offense here. Like, if you're a Democrat in Texas, do you seriously think when people talk about Texas as a political entity, they're like, with regard to them voting Republican, that they're targeting you? Like, what are you? You're literally doing the thing where somebody says like men have a problem with consent, and you're like, well, I'm a man and I've never anyone. It's like, well, that's good. We weren't talking about you, you know? Like, stop being a bitch. Okay, we're talking about Texas as a political entity, not every single individual. Okay, I don't know. For me, it's not spite. It's just people are dying. I think that's bad. Yeah, no shit. Otherwise, what would we be criticizing Republicans for? If people dying wasn't bad, how would it be an own against the GOP? Like, that's the point. Like, maybe they shouldn't have voted for the people dying president who passed the people dying bill. Also, the Texas Dem Party's actual dog shit. Yeah. I can't believe O'Rourke like ran on being anti-gun in Texas. He might have won if it wasn't for that. That's crazy. It was just after Uvalde though. And yeah, you know who the people in Uvalde voted for, like, overwhelmingly? Sorry, like, how much sympathy am I supposed to have? Dude, there's always a mass shooting. Uvalde was pretty bad though. That was a pretty bad one. Yeah, but Uvalde also only affected little kids. Okay, do you think it would be morally reprehensible to say the people of Uvalde voted for more of their kids to be killed because they overwhelmingly voted Republican? In my mind, that's not morally reprehensible. That's just like cause and effect. It's obvious. Like, it's mean. Who the f cares? They're killing kids. I think that's more mean. Isn't it the cops' fault too? Everything is always the cops' fault. People don't like thinking about the consequence of their actions. People in a democracy, and this is very anti-democratic, people don't like thinking of their votes and their political support as actions. They like to think of it as this weird, immutable, transient, like ephemeral, magical, extra thing that's a part of their character that doesn't reflect on their moral worth, their beliefs, their goodness as a person, and it doesn't in itself entail political action, which is absolutely ridiculous, and therefore they don't have to be responsible for it. I don't think that a person is necessarily responsible for everything the politician they elected does, because you can't always predict what a politician is going to do, and there's a lot of nuance there. However, if you voted for Trump, you did vote for all of this. There was literally a playbook. I'm really sorry. Like, this is the first time. You could argue this is the most transparent any election has ever been. It literally, they put out a giant book saying, here's everything we're doing. Here's all the evil we intend on committing, and then people voted for it. And the nanosecond Trump got elected, the Republicans were like, yeah, we're going to do it. Project 2025 was real. You know, we were lying. Of course they were lying. Like, come on. So can we be this flippant to liberals who voted for useless Democrats every time a queer space suffers a fash massacre? You're jumbling together buzzwords. That's not, well, hold on. Don't reflexively answer yes. That's not really directly comparable. That being said, if a person votes for like Cuomo over Mamdani, and then Cuomo gets in and a bunch of bad shit happens to New York City because Cuomo was like complicit with the Republican administration, then yeah, you could absolutely blame those liberal voters for sure. 100%, right? Like, doesn't that just make sense? That's been happening for like 50 years though. Yeah. So hate Democrats. What do you want? Well, hold on. That's not entirely true. It has not been 50 years of the Democratic primaries having like a leftist candidate and a center-left candidate, and the Democrats choosing the center-left candidate, okay? There was the primary, I mean, obviously we have Bernie in 2016, 2020. I don't really think these things are directly comparable because in Donald Trump's case, he literally had a book that was entitled, like, this is the bad thing I'm gonna do. Many bad things I'm going to do. I love bad things. I love evil. And then they just voted for him. There's a level of direct responsibility here that isn't really transferable. Liberals, I mean, the Democrats just, by their nature, are ineffective and wishy-washy. You know, they don't really commit to hard policy positions. They're dickless, you know. But with the Republicans, like, this is the easiest you could ever make this argument, man. Like, Donald Trump 2024, this is the clearest line that we have. You can't play dumb when Trump does the shit he's always said he wants to do. How tankies view liberals. versus how they view people from R plus 98 districts. Literally, though, I have no idea why we... It's like, if you take a... Like, literally, any socialist revolution ever, always the base of support is gay college students in the cities, okay? I have no idea when or how it became so popular of an idea that the real ally of the socialist political movement is like rural poor people, when they have always been the worst people. Like, in every country, in every time period, all the time. I have this like patronizing romanticization of like Appalachia or whatever, you know? Like, no, they consistently vote against every single thing socialists care about. I have no idea why. We decided that they were the, like, you go to a college, half or more of the students will be socialists. You go to rural Appalachia, no one is. I don't understand why we pretend. It's ridiculous. To be fair, the people of Appalachia voted for FDR. Listen, okay, for one, 100 years ago, almost. For two, everyone voted for FDR. For three, the only reason those people voted for FDR was because of the Great Depression. The moment they got the benefits of the welfare state FDR built out, they traded it away because they were worried about black people getting the same benefits. They only temporarily shifted left because they were hurting that badly, and they gave it all away. Everything, every single thing that FDR fought for is gone now. Why? Because those pig ruroid pieces of shit were told by their white Republican legislators that black people could also benefit from those things. That is how every single one of these rights, from union participation to better worker protections to like labor right oversight from the federal government to OSHA shit, like at every single level, that has been the line. These people hate black people more than they like their own lives, okay? This is demonstrably true. Look at what's happening right now. They've been convinced we're being invaded by browns and blacks and such, and as a consequence, they are literally trading away. They just cut Medicaid. Okay, but West Virginia went against Confederacy. Yeah, because the West Virginia is all hills. There are no plantations there. If West Virginia was flat, I promise you, they would have been waving that flag along with the rest of the South. Okay? Yeah, they didn't have plantations. They didn't have a stake in the conflict. Appalachians, like 90% of them are on Medicaid. Literally doesn't matter to these people. Okay? You have to drop the idea that the working class is the ally of the socialists. Not necessarily. Sure, working class like urbanites, educated people. Kowalski, I'm sorry. It's great that you've escaped the class character of your setting, but like the idea that poor rural whites have historically been the bulwark of American socialism is demonstrably untrue. It has always been in every country, in every time period. It doesn't matter whether you're white. It doesn't matter whether you're Cambodian or Vietnamese or Russian or Chinese. At every point in history, since socialism and socialist movements became a thing, time and time and time again, you have rural peasantry who are backwards traditionalist conservatives, and you have the young, radical, well-educated middle class that goes, wouldn't socialism be nice? And whether or not that works out largely comes down to, you know, the intentions of the original personality cult and how much influence those ruroids end up having over things. Unfortunately, like, you do kind of have to wrangle people a bit to move them in the right direction, because they're being wrangled in the other direction too. Hope you know rural areas similar to Appalachia and Canada are exactly the same. I know. They're like that literally all over the world. The Appalachians were a hotbed of socialism and unionism in the early 20th century till they got bombed to death in America's own soil by Pinkertons, U.S. Army, and mine owners. A common misconception. Unfortunately, no. There was heavy union activity, but that's not the same as socialist activity. Unions take root because people who join unions are usually self-interested. Pretty easy to pitch a union to somebody who works in a coal mine in West Virginia. But they got rid of all of that. They got rid of all of that if it meant having to give a thing to the black man. Okay? Literally, like the post-World War II movement of workers like black sharecroppers in the South and soldiers coming back home, there were so many instances, just those benefits being traded away. At the end of the day, I'm sorry, like racism and tribalism win out every single time. It's how unions died, man. How we lost public pools. It's how we lost everything. You have no idea how hollowed out America has become because of these people. We used to have America was a land of plenty. We had provisions, we had benefits everywhere, infrastructurally, you know, socially. But they got carved out time and time again because white people didn't want to share them with black people. And that prejudice was strongest in rural areas because they're always backwards. It has always been the cities that have been the bulwark of progress and social development and such. Even compromise with Southerners during the New Deal to keep blacks out of Social Security and the most of the New Deal. Those are always the people you have to compromise with. If you ever want a good thing, there's like an army of racist white people who would benefit from that good thing, but you have to convince them that it's worth getting the good thing, even if the good thing also happens to black people. That's like every single political compromise made over the past 150 years stems from that dynamic. That dichotomy right there. Is it a different kind of public pool or what? Because there are quite a few public pools around me. Dog, literally, like, it can be a rabbit hole for you. You can Google, like, American public pools 1960s. How many of them were closed because of the federal government forcing integration? Like, the white people who lived there would rather no pool for anyone than a pool that they had to share with black people. It was literally like thousands of pools across the country. That's just one. I mean, not to speak of like libraries or public restrooms. Why do you think we don't have public restrooms, by the way? Out of curiosity. Like, nowadays, it's more to do with homelessness, but historically, tons of what would have otherwise been considered good social provision. Like, do you think they had no public restrooms back like 60 or 70 years ago at all? No, because otherwise people would be pooping in the street all the time. That's ridiculous. You guys don't have public restrooms? No. In America, we basically don't have public restrooms at all. Literally, no. In basically every part of America, if you want to use the restroom, you have to convince a business to let them use yours. Sometimes there are on parks, but even that, not very many. That's insane. I didn't know that. Yep, we used to have more. Rest stations have them? Yeah, for like drivers. I'm talking about like when you're just in a city or town or whatever. Lots of paragraphs. We all have strong opinions on this. It does irritate me a little bit how persistent that myth is. The idea that this weird like, no, fake rednecks listen to modern pop country about pickup trucks and girls. Real rednecks listen to songs about beating up cops. And it's like, no, they don't. That's not real. You're literally like, you are consuming mimetic misinformation propagated by other college-educated coastal city dwellers. You are not engaging at all with the real. You just drive through America. Literally, just drive, just do a loop, just do a lap around America. Take a few weeks. It'll debunk every single perception you have of these people as being like even, they're lumpen proles. Even Marx wrote about this. Marx didn't think that the ideological origins of socialism within a country were like would take root in those people. What was Marx, a rural peasant? God no. Well-educated, city-dwelling middle class. How do we solve this problem? Do we just shame them? Well, obviously, yes, we should shame them for being reactionary, but also just ignore rural. Stop catering to them. The state of California has more people in it than the entirety of the center of the United States. Like there are like 20 Senate seats, all Republican, that are matched in population by 2 Senate seats in California. Stop catering to them. Like, stop pretending these people. Who the cares what people in South Dakota want? Genuinely, the population of South Dakota is like a neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's ridiculous. It's insane that we have to pretend that they matter. South Dakota is very beautiful too, it's sad. Yeah, it's beautiful. Of course it's beautiful. There's no people there. Dude, what's the latest crisis? Rural people. I just discovered them and I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Vosh is right. I used a gas station bathroom in a rural area and the amount of eyes were watching me was insane. People act like racism died down after the 70s when no, the it hasn't. It's so up that you could legitimately take like a fraction of the population of the Bronx, move them into the state of Wyoming, and you would instantly permanently change Wyoming's demographics. Like that would be like a double-digit percentage change in their population that could then single-handedly control. They would come in with so much more money. Like like the Wyoming would fold. Yeah, that'd be pretty hard to do though. Well, yeah, Wyoming like kind of sucks to live in. It's kind of like how a bunch of anarchists on Twitter like to pretend that they would be happiest if they lived an agrarian, or what do they call it, like subsistence farming lifestyle, you know? Like they have a couple acres of land. They clearly have like no idea how much land it takes to farm. And people like forget, You know, yeah, the cottagecore bullshit. People forget that, like, all of human history since the agricultural revolution has been people trying to escape subsistence farming. Like, subsistence farming was so bad that people traveled up north to work in late 19th century factories to escape it. Communal farming with access to tools provided by the state would be superior? No, it wouldn't be. You're trying to escape your life. In reality, the best way you could escape your life is by getting a decent sleep schedule and going to the gym. You fantasize about subsistence farming because you want to dream about a world that's so far away that you'll never actually reach, so you never have to take accountability for the gulf between you and where you want to be, okay? No, you do not, in fact, want to spend 12 to 14 hours a day desperately, pathetically scrounging around in bug infested, you know, pesticide, fertilizer stinking plants to try to desperately, like, feed your family every day. You know, you don't want to do that. It's much harder work than you think. Yeah, Stardew Valley and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Really romanticize the prospect. People really think like, yeah, I'll simply, I have this orchard of apples and or apple trees, and I'll harvest the apples and that'll be like my apples for a while. Like, they have no idea. They have no idea why the peasant farmers in France in the 13th century were living off of like grain broth and rabbit stew, where they would cook the bones for 8 hours to get every calorie they could out of the marrow. I thought you said people need to struggle to advance. Let them go subsistence farm, it'll grow them. Yeah, but they'll die. I'm just trying to advocate. Yeah, my mom used to wake up at 4 at night as a 10-year-old and her hands were black. Yeah, it's not easy. Not easy. Imagine being the first person desperate enough to discover asparagus is edible. That's true. My mom has a garden in our backyard where she grows a bunch of veggies, and if the food supply chain ever collapsed, we could maybe enjoy some homemade salsa for a couple days before we starved, Lamau. Yeah, that's pretty much... It's nice to have a little herb garden, but apart from that, they resent everyone who escaped that lifestyle they feel stuck in. Well, modern rural people don't... They're not subsistence farmers. They just... I don't know what the f they do. Doesn't seem to be an economy out there. Just sort of chilling, I guess. They're like the animals that graze on their desolate plots of land. Grim stuff. Languishing? Yeah, I'd say so. People are yearning for the peasant colonies you said you'd send people as a punishment to, Lamau. They would come back. I don't know.